I've been thinking a lot about teachers lately. I saw this beautiful, it was a Facebook meme. It said something like, a good teacher shows you where to look, but doesn't tell you what to see. And I love that. And I've really been working on that. I'm actually writing an essay because as I go through stroke recovery, I'm having a lot of time to reflect on my life and what it's been. And I've been thinking about teachers. But something that occurred to me today, in addition to that, is like, I think the teachers, they just remind us of what we already know. And that's the beauty of a teacher teaching. They just remind us what we already know. So anything that we say to each other, there could be a teaching, just kind of like it connects the synapse back up, like something that we lost along the way. And I'm going through this major thing. You know, I had a bleed right up here, and they had to crack me open, put a drain up there so it didn't kill me. And I think about this all the time, because I'm literally rewiring. I'm coming into something brand new, and I kind of think one of the things I want to talk about tonight is sort of my observations, like what I'm observing as I go along. It's really extraordinary. It's really extraordinary. A lot of these things I kind of suspected before, but now that I have this kind of perspective of almost dying and making it back over here, it's really extraordinary, because I have time to think about my life, and I'm a 56-year-old man, and I've had a good life so far. I've had a lot of love in my life, including my adopted son. I have had 3 children. Many of you know my daughters, Inyo and Kara, 11-year-old twins that I have with my wife, Samantha. And when I think about my life, and I've had lots of children in my life. I've been a counselor in group homes and worked in the schools. And I've had a lot of love and a lot of families. And I've been all over Turtle Island. I haven't been to Alaska. That's the only place I haven't been. But everywhere else on Turtle Island, Canada, I've been all over the place. God, I love Turtle Island. It's a great place. Unbelievable place. And so I think about my life, and I have all of these experiences, and you know, I have some wisdom of a middle-aged man, and yet all these things are brand new. I have this tremendous excitement about, I really understand what little kids go through now when new things come in. They get so excited, you know, and we all love it. Oh, look how excited he or she is, you know, because I'm in that place. Just the other day, not very long ago, I was at the table, and Samantha and my daughters, they went outside for an after dinner little walk, and Samantha brings me in some blackberries in her hand. She puts them on the table in front of me. I was so excited about these blackberries. And she just laughed. She goes, "Wow, you're like a little kid," she said. I said, "You don't understand. These are the first blackberries I've ever had in my whole life." And she looked at me kind of strangely. And I said, "Look," I said, "I know I've had thousands and thousands of blackberries." But I pointed to my injury, and I said, "But these are the first blackberries I have ever had. Have you guys tried them? They're really good." I recommend them. So anyway, so I want to talk about, I think I'm getting a very good perspective on how we get severed from spirit from when we're born. This whole experience that I've had, I think I'm getting a lot of ideas about it now. So a few things that are interesting is that, that might be interesting, I don't know, maybe not. But I'll leave it up to you if it's interesting or not. As Ron mentioned, and I know a lot of you know this story, and you know, I did speak. This is the second time I spoke. The other time was at the Harmonious Festival in Casper a month or two ago. I know Eric, thank you Eric for being here tonight. He made a video of it and posted it online. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. I know a lot of local people have seen it. And so, but just for people that are new, or maybe people might see the new video, because Eric is here again tonight, and we'll probably post this one too. I was running for county supervisor, and it was a very, very stressful time. A number of things happened during the campaign that really, really kind of broke me down just before my stroke. And so I got a little retreat. A friend of mine from the men's community that I worked with down in Sonoma County, Redwood Men's Center, he said he'd come up, spend a little time with me. And so we went off to a little cabin in the woods. A friend of mine lent me, and he said to me, he said, what do you need out of this? And I said, well, because I was pretty blown out with some of the things that happened during the campaign. And I said, I need new ground. I said, I need a new vision for myself, for my family, and for humanity. And that's about the last thing I remember saying. Because the next thing I remember about being kind of in this world, in this reality that we all kind of share here, is the next thing I wake up, I'm in this room, and I don't know where I am. And I see a man, he's across the room. And I say, where am I? He said, you're in the hospital. I said, what am I doing here? He said, you had a stroke. I said, you're kidding me. He said, no. That's the next thing I remember after talking to my friend and telling him what I need out of this thing. So, talk about sudden reality shift. My God. And so during that time that I was under and all these things were happening to me, I was in this cave, in this place. I guess it was a vision. I don't know. But I was in this cave, and it was somewhere in the Dakotas, Wyoming, Montana, somewhere up in there. It was like it was on Lakota people's land, way up there in the North Prairie part. And a lot of things happened in there while I was in there. But it was interesting because apparently my wife, Samantha, she said, well, you could talk to people. They would come in the hospital room, and you would know different people who visit you. You could talk to the doctors. And I can't remember any of that. I can remember being in that cave, though. And one thing that was kind of funny is that she said that when they ask you, they would ask me, where are you? You know, hospital people, they want to get you oriented, right? And so they say, where are you? I always would say Montana. And they would laugh, just like you just did, yeah. And I said to her, well, that was an honest answer as far as I was concerned. But anyway, I want to stay with this idea of kind of what I'm learning about. I feel very much like we really get severed from our spirits when we're born. I think that's one of the reasons why we love those newborns so much, because it still shines in them. But as soon as we get here, we start getting molded. We get molded and shaped. And they say, this is the way it is. And they teach you about being afraid. And that's when you start learning that you're separate. They teach you you're separate from things. There's somebody, I would never understood this before my stroke, but there was somebody that said once, I don't know who it was, they said, once you tell a child what a tree is, they will never see a tree again. They will only see their thought. I would have never understood that before. I kind of do now. And I have a lot of sadness about that. I cry a lot right now. I cry a lot. I laugh very easily. Because I'm kind of in the state of innocence. And something else I think about innocence, I think it's the most powerful thing there is. One of the things we are shaped and molded, we're told to be shamed about innocence. And children are shamed for having it. And that makes me so sad, because I think innocence is where we encounter the power of the universe, of a God, the creator, whatever you want to call it. I think we have to be in innocence. I think that's the only way that we can be strong enough to really bear witness to what is there. But we're told innocence is weak. Innocence makes you weak. What bullshit! I'm furious about that. I'm really angry about that. And that's what I believe too. Or if there was a little bit of innocence, we could let in here a little play, but not too much. Otherwise, you're just being too childish. I'll read you a poem. So a lot of times right now, I'm awake about 3 a.m, a lot. and I just stay awake. I write. I call them poems. Really, they're just words that want to come out. It's kind of what happens. I wake up, I write some, I read, I listen to music, put a little music on my laptop. It's a really great time of day to be awake. Everything's really still, really still. So I like that a lot. And I kind of don't know who's going to be in the room with me. I'll talk about that a little later. Sometimes it's, oh, good morning, hello, how are you? Oh, not very good, huh? Okay. Anyway, more on that later. I read this poem, I call it Holy Man. And you can substitute woman here too. So, you want to be a holy man. I should warn you, holy men never have a nice day. If you want to be a holy man, you should be prepared to suffer 1,000 deaths, 1,000 times over. Give up even the very idea that you deserve and should get anything. Be prepared to learn firsthand what Christ experienced. Holy men never get to have a nice day. They are too busy confronting and recognizing and metabolizing the pain in the world. They are time travelers and can reach into the pain of times before and carry the pain and suffering of generations before and generations to come. The world will not pay their rent or their mortgage, or pay for their children's food, or provide them transportation. Despite their lofty efforts, they are stuck with many of the same quandaries and confusions of ordinary men. Holy men must leap into the dark abyss, unsure if they will plunge all the way to their death at the bottom and die in a puff of dust like Coyote in those cartoons, or be caught mid-fall by a loving and gentle hand. But unsure of the outcome, they must leap anyway, if they want to be a holy man. With all of these conditions, should any of us wonder why there are so few holy men? Who would undertake such a ridiculous task with no tangible rewards? I'm sure the training program violates OSHA standards. I want to talk a little bit. Seriously, like one of the things that I'm finding in my own process as I go through this, a lot of people, they tell me, and I know they're just trying to be kind and helpful, they say, oh, you should read this book, or you've heard this person talk. And, there's something a while ago, I was talking with Rabbi Margaret. I know a lot of you know Rabbi Margaret from the Jewish community. And she came over to my house, and we sat for a little while. And she asked me something along the lines of, what do you think, what's the meaning of what had happened to you? And I found myself saying, I don't know. I'm not going to tell myself a story about it. I'm going to sit with it, and I'm going to let it teach me from the inside out, is what I told her. And that's what I've been doing. So, and I'm finding we have really deep teachers inside of us. I don't think I'm exclusive in this, but I think you just have to really sit with it. You have to find out, we all have to find out what's pretense and what's real. Oh, I'll tell a little story. I know some of you heard this because I told this, it was in the video that Eric took before. I got home. Well, my stroke was in the end of June of 2018. And they took me to the hospital. The conversation I had with that man that I told you about wasn't until August. So I lost like all July, part of August. It's just kind of gone. It's like it got surgically removed from my timeline. It's really strange. I'm still kind of trying to figure out what the hell month we're in, and even what the year is sometimes. But anyway, I finally got home almost a year ago. It was just before my birthday, September 15th. Samantha and my girls, they got me home after being in a couple of rehabs and hospital stay. And so this one day, a couple of friends of mine, they're inland friends, Tamar and Jack. Tamar was a campaign supporter of mine, and that's how I got to know her. And they make, maybe you guys know about it, they make the Low Gap whiskey. Have you ever had that? Oh, I can't wait till I can drink again. Oh, that stuff is really good. Every once in a while I have half a glass of wine. That's about it. But I like single malt Scotch whiskey, and the Low Gap whiskey is very good. And her and her husband, Jack, they wanted to come over and meet me here, meet my family. So we arranged to meet at the Little River Inn. So we had breakfast there one day. And when we were done, I know probably a lot of you have been to the Little River Inn, but they have the pub area in the front there where you first walk in, and their bigger dining rooms are kind of in the back. And so we were leaving, and I was walking out. I had my cane. I was kind of hunched over very closely, and there's a bunch of people waiting for tables to clear up in there in the pub area. And so I'm walking, and very carefully walking. My balance has gotten a little better, but it was terrible then. It was really terrible. I had to be so slow and so careful to not fall over. So I'm walking past these tables, and I'm looking down, and all of a sudden from this chair, I see a little hand shoot out. Literally just shoots the gap. And this little hand grabs my cane, and I hear this voice say, "What's this?" And I look down, and I kind of stabilize myself a little bit, and I pull my cane up just a little bit, and the hand is attached to this little boy. He's about 4 years old. And he's holding on to my cane, and I can't get in a wrestling match with this little kid, because old ladies could knock me over. It's sad, but it's true. I can't be tugging him too much. And his parents are just shocked. They don't know what to do. If they yell, will they make it worse? If they pull his hand, will they make it worse? And they're both his mom and dad on either side of him. They're And so finally I just realized, okay, I just put the cane down. And I talked to this little boy. I said, "It's a cane." And he asked me all these questions. He goes, "What do you need this for?" I had a stroke. He didn't know what a stroke was. I told him. And his parents are kind of relaxing a little bit. And I told him about his stroke and what happened to me. And his name was Hunter. I love his name was Hunter. Because I think Hunter is a really powerful teacher. And getting back to innocence, I also wanted to be very gentle with him, because I know he did that just out of innocence, curiosity. He was really curious, really, really, really curious. And so now when I sit with myself as I heal, I think a lot about what patterns I had in my first half of my life. I call this the second half of my life now. I think a lot about what patterns did I have. And so I grab, anytime I see myself do something habitual, even if it's something that people would think is a good thing, I say, "What's this?" Just grab it. "What's this?" And don't let it go until I know. Oh, it's just conditioned behavior. Where did this come from? Probably some way that I got trained, manipulated, molded like at birth. So now I call them GTFO, get the fuck out. If it's a pattern, find the root and get the fuck out. Because I don't want to be a trained monkey again. I don't want to be. And I think that the human spirit is a beautiful thing, but it's caged up in so many of us. And I kind of knew that before, but I look around now, because I've got these eyes of innocence, because of all these new things that are happening, and I'm kind of blown away how we're all trained, how much of our behavior is just conditioned. And we've been conditioned and molded our whole lives. And it makes me really sad. It makes me really sad sometimes. The heaviness of it is just crushing sometimes. But I also think that maybe by talking to people, maybe by talking what I'm going through, maybe is because I feel like what's happening to me, I feel like that's what's happening to the earth. When I told my friend I need a new vision, the earth needs a new vision too. Look at what we've got going on. Most people are not happy on this earth. And look, we're skating towards Armageddon, however you say that. Look at what's happening. We all know it. The only one that seems to be waking us up is that sweet girl, that 16-year-old girl, Greta. God, I admire her. But there should be thousands of Gretas out there. There's one. There's one. I was watching I was watching CNN the other day. I just wanted to see what was happening with the hurricane. I call it corporate news nonsense, CNN. And, they're covering the thing. They're showing the storm. And they're interviewing people, heroic people that go and rescue somebody. And more stuff. I realized this is disaster pornography is what it is. Right? That's all it is. They're showing you these titillating images, right? The floods, the trees going, look, they're going to snap any second. These stories, I went and saved these people in that apartment building. All right. But there's no relationship context. They never once mentioned the word climate or climate change. Never once. I watched it for an hour and a half. It never even got an offhand mention. And I realized this is just porn. That's all it is. It's disaster porn. There's no relationship involved in here at all. And that's our world. That's what we're living in. And it's pretty damn sad, I think. I want to stay with this thing about innocence a little bit. When I go around, say I go into a cafe, I've got my cane. Sometimes I wear a shoulder harness because I've had a shoulder problem, a little separation here from not using it for so long. And it's still with me a little bit. It's much better. But I'm quite something to see sometimes. And, I walk into a cafe and the little kids will be like, whoa, what's up with him, And I see the parents very quickly, they shield their eyes. Don't look, that's rude, And I think, there we are, we're being molded and shaped again. And, the parents believe they have a good reason, don't be rude. But why are we, as human beings, so ashamed about our injuries? Why are we so ashamed? Who the fuck told us to be ashamed? My wife told me, don't say fuck a lot tonight. There we go. Is it going to be on the video again? Sorry, hon. But, for myself, I feel like, yes, I've got this injury. But it's because I've lived a life. And I feel like we should be somewhat proud of our injuries. But we're told to be ashamed of them. Hide them. One time Samantha said to me, she saw a picture of me. She says, look how strong you used to be. And I understand. It's hard for my wife and kids to see me like this. My daughters and I, we're still figuring it out. I've always been a very physical and robust dad with them. And kind of now they got a grandpa, It's hard. It's hard on a daily basis. We have to figure it out. It's not easy. But I said to my wife that day, I said, listen, I know that I'm never going to put a backpack on and hike 20 miles through the mountains in the day. But you know what? Who do you think is going to get me through this? The same guy that could do that and would do that. He's the one who's going to get me through this. So I feel like when we age, we need more of who we are. We don't lose it. Bring it up. How did you raise a family? How did you work and raise a family? How did you get to where you got? Those things don't die just because maybe we can't walk so good or we had a stroke or had a knee replacement or whatever. Bring it. It's one of the ways that our culture is so sad to me. And I feel like I kind of knew that before, but I'm seeing it very heavily now. That we need to stop doing that. We need to stop participating in that lie. There's something wrong with us just because, you can't do this anymore. I can't hike anymore. Well, the guy that could do that and will do that, he's the one that's going to get me by here. He's going to get me through this. And just like any of you, anybody here listening tonight, what did you do physically, spiritually, emotionally to get you where you got to be? Bring it all the way up. It's a gift. It's a gift for all of us. It's a gift. Don't let the gift die just because you had a knee replacement or your back hurts. Don't let the gift die. Bring it all the way up for all of us. Don't let it die. Don't let anybody tell you that it's going to die. And if your kid looks, let them look. Don't shield their eyes. Let the child see. Let the child see what they want, what they need to see. It's like my little friend Hunter, when he grabbed that cane. He had no malice. I did tell him, I told him more about the stroke, but I did say, your parents are right, though. You shouldn't grab people's canes because people like me, we need it. We could fall over, We don't want that. So anytime you find your own self in a repeat pattern, be like my friend Hunter. Grab it and say, well, what's this? Maybe it's just a crutch. Maybe you don't need it. Get rid of it. GTFO. Let me see if I have another poem here. I'll say one. This is called For You Too. I dance, these buffalo skulls making clouds of dust. The tethers pull on my chest where they have pierced me. The blood drips down, mixes with sweat and pain. Yes, I signed up for this pain, this agony. I do not know why, but I know it was voluntary. For a long time I felt victimized, like it was involuntary. But I know now that I signed up for this and went willingly. I dance for you too. I dance to dispel ignorance from the world, yours, my own. I dance for you too. My own, so that the veils of illusion that restrict my views of eternity will be lifted. I dance for those I love. I dance for those I hate. I dance today. I dance for tomorrow. I might have to dance for 1,000 years. I will keep dancing in love, dancing in agony, dancing in joy, dancing in sorrow, dancing in surety, dancing in regret, regret, so much regret. I will keep dancing until I awaken from the matrix of illusion, until I awaken to the fact that I too fed the illusion. I participated in the worship of the little dark ball, and that is my greatest agony, not what others did to me, but what I did to myself. I will dance until forgiveness blossoms in my heart, and soul flowers across this beloved and sacred earth, until forgiveness has a new definition, all across the new earth that embraces all of her dancing children. I dance for my daughters, that they will live in a world of love and justice and tigers and buffalo and ice on the polar caps. I dance to dispel the evil from the world. I dance for the new earth that will arise as I do from the ashes of all that lived before and has died. I myself am as the new earth, barren with death from the old stories. The old stories swept through and scraped the land barren, but still with a seed of memory of how things once were. I dance for you too. I dance for the prayer, the vision of a green and verdant and abundant earth, with millions of souls dancing upon her with joy and love, and embracing each other with a future of love for all of our children. I dance to clear the many veils that hide hatred and anger, so they can step into the light of day and be cleansed by the healing infinite love of our Father the Son, and stop waging their war, lobbing their dangerous missiles from inside their hiding places, in their fertile, dank closets. I dance to open all the doors of the cold, stony prisons in which we all live. I dance for the galactic lovers can unleash their forces upon us all. I dance for you too. I dance for a healed and verdant earth where each human and animal will always feel the soft caress of their mother's hand and always be able to suckle the sweet, warm milk from her breast. While our Father's Son beams his love down upon us, I dance for you too. I dance to freeze the frozen, unmoving places in all of us. I dance for you too. I dance for everyone who feels victimized by their own projected anger. I dance for you too. I dance with the ghosts of the past whose suffering lingers and infects our children in these times we live in now. I dance to free them from their prisons. I dance for you too. I dance for you too. I dance to the end of vocabulary. I dance to the end of meaning. Brothers, sisters, warriors, lovers, let this be our solemn pledge that we will always keep dancing. How will we know when to stop? When we are awash in gratitude. Such profound gratitude, so profound that we can honestly turn to the Creator and fully and honestly say, thank you for every single bit of joy you gave me, and especially thank you for every bit of suffering, especially thank you for that, the suffering, my greatest teacher. I dance for you too. See, this is one of the other things I think that we get trained about. Is there something wrong with us if we suffer? And somehow it kind of becomes, although as if there's something personal about it. And I don't think there is. I do think the suffering is probably our greatest teacher. I do. I'm coming to believe that. And somehow we all signed up for this. You know, one of the trainings that they do is, oh, don't suffer. Well, what are you doing here if you're not going to suffer? That's part of the deal. I don't know who he signed the contract with. I'm not quite sure about that. I've got some ideas about it. I'm sure you all do. But somehow they've kind of taught us that there's something wrong with us if we suffer. Or like it's personal. And I kind of don't think it is. I don't know why. You know, I think about this too a lot, and you know, I'm not saying if you're in a relationship that's abusive, emotionally, physically, or sexually, you know, to stay, oh yeah, I'll suffer. No, that's not it. You know, there's a lot of power. There's a lot of power from saying, you know what, I kind of learned enough here, and I'm done playing this game. I know, you know, people, including myself, sometimes they had to do that. And it's really powerful. That feeds the soul. I may be put here to suffer, but I don't need to keep walking into that over and over again. Okay, thank you very much. I got the lesson now. Carry on. I'll carry on. We'll both carry on. But you go that way, I'll go this way. And that's not the kind of suffering I'm talking about. I want to talk a little bit about time travel too. You know, I think that one of the great damages that they do, and when we come to this plane and start to get molded, is they teach us that time is like little pieces of divided things, right? But I know like a lot of indigenous cultures, you know, time is like this river, and like many of the indigenous cultures, maybe the Pomo who lived here before the recent manifestation, you know, they kind of have this idea of everything that has happened, everything that's going to happen in a place is all one thread. See, I think that's the way it really is. I'm thinking a lot about time travel as I go through and try to heal things. This is a personal story. When I was a little boy, I used to have this dream all the time. Well, first of all, my father, he was in the construction trades. He was always a blue collar working man. And he had size 11 feet. And I would sit in the hall as a little boy, and I would look at his shoe. It was so big, I would hold it up, you know. I'd be like, oh my God, this foot is huge. And I started having this dream. That my father was a giant, and he was trying to step on me in this dream. And in the dream, I was always just barely getting away. And finally, at the end of the dream, I'm talking to this man, and he has this vehicle that's kind of like a Jeep. It looks like it could kind of go anywhere kind of car. And so I asked him, can I get a ride? I explained to him this giant's trying to step on me, and the man just won't give me a ride. I plead with him. I'm like, why won't you give me a ride? He won't even tell me why. He just says no. And so at the very end of the dream, I look up, and here comes the giant shoe. It's coming down. And I wake up, and it's time to start my day, go to school, whatever. And I had that dream so much as a little child. And so as part of my healing, I did what Hunter did. What's this? What's this dream, you know? And I started thinking about, well, for a while, some years back, I would think about my personal father. Maybe I was afraid of my dad. Well, he was a pretty short-tempered man sometimes. I have a wonderful relationship with him now. My God, it couldn't be any better. Very heartful. But at the time, you know, he was sometimes short-tempered. I was kind of afraid of him. But kind of when I got my 30s and 40s and I saw some of the same behaviors in myself, I kind of had to admit, you know, it's not easy being a man. You know, you kind of give some of your dreams die along the way. And so my heart kind of softened towards him. And he got older and his heart got very much softer. He's in a very soft-hearted, beautiful place in his life right now. But anyway, I was thinking about the dream. And then one day, I was at a friend's house. I was about to go see the neurologist, so we were down in Santa Rosa, Sebastopol area. And I was at my friend's house, and I woke up in the morning. I was really thinking about the dream. I did my Hunter. I said, what's this? What's this dream? And I started thinking about my own life. I started thinking about my people, my grandparents, who they lived as little children through the Depression. And I grew up with very hard Scrabble stories. I was talking about this with my wife, Samantha, and she kind of remarked, you don't complain very much. And I was thinking, yeah, I don't complain about things. I wonder why. And I realized that I started thinking about complaining is for people that think that they're going to get something out of life. You know, my people, when I grew up with my grandparents, they had survived serious poverty, deep poverty and fear. And there was stories of, you know, of them or their siblings who basically sacrificed the balance of their childhood because they could get a job and the family would eat if they could get a job. So the heck with the childhood. You know, they started working really young just so the family would eat. That's what I grew up with. That's why they didn't complain. They was like, complaining, you know, it's just waste your energy. You need to survive. And so, it really hit me then, you know. And then I was thinking about, most of them came over here. My mother's side is all from Italy, Sicily area. And my father's side is from Germany and Poland for the most part. And I was thinking, well, what kind of deal would they have to come? Why would you say, let's go across the ocean, and if we make it across there, the minute we land on the shore, we're automatically on the lowest socioeconomic rung. Who would take that deal? You know, why? Because things are so great for us here in Italy. That sounds good. Let's trade in. Of course, things were shitty for them over there. That's why they left. And it just kept getting heavier and heavier. And then I thought about, I was raised a Catholic. And this I remember from being a little boy. They totally terrified us with the stories of heaven and hell. You know? Hell, those are literal places. And if you screwed up in this life and you went to hell, you suffered for eternity. Eternity. Not just a few years. And you get out of jail on parole. It was eternity. I remember sitting out there in the pew and just going, geez. You know, and you're just a little kid. You have no sense of scale. Well, I lied to my mother about the cookie I stole. or I got pissed off and I hit my sister. You know. Eternity for that? I don't know. So I was thinking about my people. You know, and after having this life where they're just basically really economic chattel, then if you survive that, then you die, and guess what? Maybe you go to hell. Here comes the shoe. You're right. All of a sudden I realized it's not my dream. I know I was the one having it, but here I am in this river of time with my ancestors. It's not my dream. Oh, I'll tell you, I started sobbing. I broke down. I couldn't stop crying. I cried for an hour straight, just shaking and sobbing and screaming. I was in this room by myself. Oh my God, to realize it's not even my dream. It's not even my dream. It's the dream of my people for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. And finally, people started getting up, and I thought, well, I gotta pull myself together a little bit. So I kind of did. But I think we need to do that kind of work. If we're going to have a new earth, I think we need to do that kind of work. Somehow, I think our ancestors, I think they get freed up if we do it. If we can look back and we can say, I see your burden. I see what you carried. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But let's put it to rest. Let's put it to rest. Say, okay, we're done. We're done. Let's put it down. Let's put it down. Be like my friend Hunter. Anytime it starts to come up again, what's this? Look at it. Really look at it. Really look at it. Get past all your conditioning, which tells you you're being a silly fool. Because you might be in the deepest, deepest, deepest truth you're ever going to encounter. And of course, your training says, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Because it wants to sever us from our spirits. And you might have to pay a really high price. You might have to pay a really high price to do this work. I've been really liking Joseph Campbell a lot right now. I was going to bring his book tonight. I wanted to read some from there, but I forgot it. But one of the things he says, the cave that you fear to enter holds your treasure. I think he's really right about that. But you can't just enter the cave willy-nilly. You have to be ready for it. Because it takes a lot of strength to go in there. But I think that's really true. I'm sorry, I don't know who designed that, but I'm just the messenger. Let me see if I got another poem here. Well, my organizational skills are... I want to talk about our hearts. Because one of the things I'm really learning, probably because my brain doesn't work how it used to, I'm learning how much our hearts actually think. Our hearts actually think. They don't just feel, they actually think. And sometimes when I'm walking around and I see somebody or a place or something, and I realize my heart was making journeys that I was not conscious of, not as much as I am now. And so, just because I had the stroke doesn't mean, my life still has the same problems it had before going to the stroke. So I can get in the same fights with my wife or anything else, any other patterns. And I had this kind of thought a while ago. It was sort of like, wow, here I am again. I recognize this place. I've been here so many times. I couldn't figure it out before I had my stroke. How am I going to figure it out now? And I just really sat with that. And all of a sudden, I was really aware of this energy. It was connected to my heart. It wasn't right here. It was kind of out here. I don't know if it's... I need to talk to somebody that knows about energy fields, I guess. And I started to realize, I felt like this. There's like this little tube. It runs up to about here, and there was this little opening, almost like a crinkly paper, like you could open it up. And a little voice came and said, "Put it in there." And so I took my confusion, and I said, "Okay, put it in there." And at first I was kind of afraid to do it, because I thought, oh, what if you put too much in it? Maybe you'll have a heart attack. But I've been learning to do that instead of, oh, I got to figure this out. Oh, I'm back in my angst. Put it in your heart. Our hearts can take so much. I kind of knew that before, but I really know it now. I'm sure that you have, all of us have big hearts, but we're trained to get out of the hearts. You got to believe the little dark ball. Put it in your heart. If you can't figure it out, put it in your heart. That means you have to sit with the pain sometimes. It really does. We're so trained to avoid pain. You're a bad person if you have pain. There's something wrong with you personally if you have pain. Take the pain. Just sit with it. Take it. It's okay. You don't have to figure it out. Let the heart do the thinking for you. Take the pain. It's okay. Our hearts can take a lot. I think we have the heart attacks when we keep it away, quite honestly. Because then we're not making the connection from the mind to our heart. But we can take a lot of pain. It's okay. This one's called Empty Hole. What can fill this empty hole? Is it the hole of my own making and imagination? Is it even real? Why does the repetitive feeling keep coming back? Can I learn to see it as an opportunity, as a gate to some hidden garden? Am I unable to maintain my own connection to Great Spirit? I peer down into the hole. It is empty in the not good way. Sometimes emptiness feels so good and true. Not this kind. What is the difference? Can I train myself to see the emptiness that is full of life and love? Have I been too conditioned to only see the emptiness that is devoid, bleak, and harsh? Is this the lie, that I am empty and bleak and harsh? Yet I miss my daughter so badly. I can't feel anything when I am in this place, and that is the worst, feeling nothing at all. So some people wanted me dead and gone. So what? Does that really need to be my problem? Is there a warrior in the house? As I lay here, somewhere buffalo graze on sweet prairie grass. As I lay here, the morning birds begin to stir and consider the tasks before them when the sun touches the rim of their world. As I lay here, the sun always dawns on some lovely portion of earth. As I lay here, some soul awakens to who and what they really are. As I lay here, the warriors of ancient days are reincarnating and returning to this lost and rudderless world to share their spirits and wisdom. As I lay here, somewhere in our world is a fellow soul who taunts the darkness and says to it firmly and with conviction, I see you for what you are, and I am no longer afraid of you, because I am not afraid of anything, even death. As I lay here, we all celebrate the victory of this fellow unknown soul. As I lay here, entirely new galaxies are birthing themselves. And then we move that way after so many deaths, unendurable deaths. that I never would have asked more, that I would have never asked for. Each one stripping away a life that I thought I should have had, or one that I thought I deserved. Each one revealing another death, countless veils being opened like Sisyphus and his rock. Each death more painful than the last, yet each death easier as I got more proficient, as I became a willing and efficient co-assassin. Well, I learned to stand aside from what needed to happen. Something or someone else seemed to initiate the assassinations. I stopped trying to stop them. Each time another veil, another room. Repeat the sequence like it was coded, some divine blueprint of work or work order handed down by a cruel and loving supervisor. And then I came to a cavern full of elephants. They were willing to be my servants. Oh, I wish I could describe their splendor to you. The most intractable of your hearts would be dragged into movement if you caught even just a glimpse of those magnificent animals. At any rate, I bid them to help me with that last boulder, that one that would never move, the one that I thought I could not live without. And they assembled magnificently as one, and lent their shoulders, and together, with a tremendous cry and trumpeting that echoed inside the walls of this cave. Much to my surprise, the boulder moved, and they were joyful to be my servants. As I lay here, I dipped my arm into the soil of my sweet Mother Earth. The hole that I make is my own, as my loving arm meets rich, fertile soil and pulls it from the cave for all to see. Just a little bit more, and I know we'll need to adjourn soon. Just one other little story. When I was having the stroke, I guess when I was in the hospital, there was a period of time where I guess I was pretty close to dead, I guess, because I wasn't in my body. I was out. I was moving. I was moving through space. I could move through space and time as easy as thought, even easier. And where I was going, I could visit everybody that I ever loved, any place I had ever been. And so as my brain heals, I'm asking to remember what that was like. And I know the only way to remember what that was like is to really be able to sit with grief and be cruelly honest to myself about why I do what I do. I think that's the only way. But I know for me, actually I don't see any options for any of us. But I know for me, if I went down the path of regret, or I shoulda, coulda, woulda, I should have done this. Maybe I should have been stronger. I shouldn't have let things that happened in the supervisor race kind of break me down so much. I know that if I went there, that would just be a hell path for life. It would just be a hell path. I think that I'm kind of lucky in that I don't really have an option. I don't have a plan B. This injury I have. Somewhere in one of these poems, I think I'll just say it, but I say it kind of comes out in poetry as a I dragged around a lot of loneliness in my life. We all have. We all have. Not just me, we all have. And finally, at this point in my life, I face that loneliness, and I say, listen, I survived a stroke. I can survive you. I can't run away from you anymore. And that way, I feel like the stroke is a great gift, because I have to turn and I have to face that loneliness now. There's no other option for me. And I don't think there's really any option for any of us. Otherwise, we keep living these kind of conditioned, half-assed lives. until we can find a way to turn and say, oh, is that the cave I'm afraid of? Maybe it's time to go in there and see what treasure lies in there. And it's not easy because maybe you've got a story like me, like with that foot, you know? I think everybody has it. Everybody has their form of it. That's just mine. I just told a story. Like we talked about teachers. Like if it sparks something in you, then follow it. Take it as a teaching. Because, something reconnects in myself when I hear that story. Or I sit with other people who are going through this thing. We can do it. We can do it, but we have to change the society. And I'm not talking like who's going to be the next president, although I'm certainly hoping he's the guy there right now. But whoever it is, we've still got to do what we've got to do. I still believe that we can. Even if we don't get there collectively, if we find little pockets of ways to do this individually, we're all going to an ending. So let's go there as warriors. Let me see if I can find one more poem here. That way when death comes, we're not hiding underneath a rock. We're saying, where you been? Hello. Take me home. Let's go. This will be my last one. Then we'll take a little break. Go ahead and tee up at the Euro. Okay, Ron? Okay. Let's go with this one. I call it And Now. And now I find myself here. After so many forests traversed, after so many gardens tended, after so many transactions, after so many hellos as new love blossomed, and after so many goodbyes, as love faded, as new paths revealed themselves, after the laughter of so many precious sweet children continue to echo in the caverns of my heart, their laughter making the chimes of eternity ring forever inside the chambers of my heart. I find myself here. After my brain sprung a leak that almost killed me much too soon, I find myself here, balanced on the precipice of a silence that I could never have even imagined with my old brain. I find myself here. After my spirit soared like a hawk above so many blue, hazy, soft ridges and swooped through so many canyons, I find myself here. Oh God, how I love this earth, and am so thankful that my visit here has been prolonged. After so many songs written and sung, I find myself here, ready to face a loneliness that I always dragged around with me, dragged it through the dust until it rose in clouds and clouds as it choked me. When I was able-bodied, I could always run from the cloud of dust, but now, dependent on this cane, I cannot run even from an old woman. And so I turn and face the loneliness, and face it squarely. Okay, I say to loneliness, I survived a stroke, I surely can survive you. After so many tears have poured out of me like rivers and rivers and rivers, tears of endless sorrow and unlimited regrets, so many rivers of regret, tears of the brightest joys, acid tears that poisoned entire landscapes, sweet tears that nurtured entire forests. You were so honorable in your sense of duty, I know that you did it for love of me, love of humanity, love of the earth, love of my family. I am touched deeply. Thanks to your tears, there are rivers full of salmon, rivers full of salmon. And now I find myself here. After so many sweet berries eaten, yet today I ate my very first blackberry. It was incredible. I find myself here, stunned, in total disbelief, as I watch the first sunset of my life, in total disbelief. Belief, a good friend once told me, he was a poet. There was a lie in the middle of you. I foolishly thought he was just being cute. Yet if I am honest with myself, whatever good was belief, a useless construct that has so many hiding places, shielded so much of me from our Father's love. Belief, I can now jump into that abyss and no longer need to concern myself with the silly need for the belief that some benevolent hand will catch me. Belief, you seem to me the construction of some fearful, powerless, traumatized child. And now I find myself with no further need of you, belief. So I find myself here, ready to say goodbye to you forever and always, my old friend. I do so with a heavy heart, because I know I am saying goodbye to a long-time companion. My old self felt so cold, and now I know the chill of eternity is not so bad. I wish to feel the love of the Father's light upon my bare skin, and no longer need the shade that you so dutifully provided. Belief, the blanket you offered was thin and not adequate for the task, and yet I did not freeze to death. Thank you, and I am sorry to have to be the one to tell you this, belief. But the Dalai Lama is full of shit. And so is the Buddha. And now I find myself able to recognize the ghouls on the street and turn away from them if they approach. I no longer need to hide behind you. I can recognize and let them pass on by. Brothers, sisters, my lovers, my fellow warriors, let's leave belief behind as we jump into the abyss together. Let's fall with nothing left but our love for each other. And as we fall into the nothingness, as we construct the new earth together, we will be as architects and carpenters as we fall together. This is the ultimate adventure of being a human being. I forgive you and myself for everything. Ha! There was never anything to forgive anyway. Certainly, there was never anyone to offend. Silly me.